Welcome to Off Record On Point, the digital voice podcast unzipped, where we go deep undercover for the issues that really matter by the leading minds in the industry. And today we're joined by Maria McDowell, who is founder of Lollipop Mentoring, as we unzip the secrets to making mentoring work. I'm Julia Linehan, and I'm the founder and managing director of Digital Voice, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Kasey Long.
Thank you, Julia. I'm excited to be back. Every month, we're unzipping industry secrets and touching on sensitive issues. So look out for our list of resources in the description to help you with anything you might need while you're listening.
So today, and I'm hugely excited to welcome the wonderful Maria McDowell. Maria, it's a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I'm honoured.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and about Lollipop.
About myself, I'm Maria McDowell. I am in my mid-40s and I started Lollipop Mentoring last year, January. My background is that I have been in the industry for sort of 20 years. I was the head of mentorship for Brixton Finishing School. And at that time, I was also the head of mentorship for DigiLearning, because obviously I didn't have enough jobs to do. I was freelancing for quite a large agency. So we were in the pandemic.
Oh my goodness.
If you had a job, you were probably doing the job of two other people and you were worried about losing your job. Or you didn't have a job and you were thinking, how the hell am I going to survive? And what is the point of it all? So I thought, let me just put some positivity out in the world. I'll just send a video out there in terms of, look, if you're feeling a bit low, go and find a mentor. And this is the ways that you can do it. From there, it sort of snowballed and snowballed. And then I thought, well, actually, as a Black woman, I wanted something for people who were like me. You know, if you're a junior woman and you're a Black woman, chances are you're probably feeling quite alone. You feel like you can't kind of turn up to be yourself. And I just wanted to have a platform whereby they could go on and then they can, be matched with a senior mentor. And the mentors can be from any race or gender. But I found it and felt really kind of strong about making sure that it wasn't just Black women being just matched with other Black women. It's about kind of creating a community, creating a network, because generally I think people want to help. They just don't know always where to go.
I think it's an interesting point there. And firstly, big shout out to Brixton Finishing School and Ali Owen and the work she does, and Lisa Goodchild and Sarah Wilson at DigiLearning. Love, love, love both of those businesses and those ladies. Community is a huge part of our industry. And Maria, you and I met because you're a member of Digital Leading Ladies, of which I'm a co-founder, and I'm also part of Bloom. So I'm a massive ambassador and believer in being part of community. What does it mean to you to be part of communities?
It's everything, because we are human and often we're time poor. So if you're looking for somebody or a business or something like that, you're looking for somebody who you trust to recommend somebody else. Especially with Lollipop, I didn't feel like I was very confident in asking for help or putting myself out there, and the community has really helped in doing that. And also, I'll be honest with you, seeing how white women find it quite easily to ask for help made me go, well, why don't I do that? And seeing people on Digital Leading Ladies and seeing people in Bloom be vulnerable and ask for those things made me feel like, right, I can actually emulate that. I should be doing that too. And it's massively influenced me and made me see that actually people are genuinely nice. And my whole mantra of Lollipop and everything else is don't be a dick.
Oh, I love that.
But also don't be a dick to yourself.
So true.
It's about being kind and being empathetic. And sometimes you see the empathy, if you're on Digital Leading Lady and somebody's having a bit of a rough time, you see how people gather around and support that woman. And it's empowering, and it shows that there's sort of a lot of strength and femininity.
I think so too. And you hit on something actually. You were talking about being vulnerable. And we had the pleasure last episode of featuring Yahoo's Jack Ellis. And we both found it a hugely emotional session because it was about being your authentic self. Maria, you mentioned vulnerability, but in front of us today, we're looking at this incredibly glamorous woman who's got everything all together. Is this your authentic self, and how much do you let that vulnerability show?
Gosh, I struggle every day. I mean, I think when I was a lot younger, I didn't have any confidence. I'm 5'10". I was very, 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 very skinny. I used to kind of walk in rooms like this, trying to hide myself. And then you just realize that people are going to see you anyway. People are going to form their opinions of you anyway. So you might as well just be yourself. And I have to say,
Own it.
And own it as well.
Yeah.
right, because and I have to say, turning 40, my midlife crisis, you can see my tattoo. You call it a crisis, but I actually find it quite empowering because it's like I questioned myself and said, well, who am I? And if this is life, sorry, I'm going to get a bit sort of esoteric, but if you really think about it, you go, right, I'm going to have this opportunity to be in a human body and I'm going to have the chance to experience everything. Why do I then say, no, I'm going to live my life in this little package, because they might think this of me or they might think that of me.
It sounds more like an awakening to me, Maria.
Yeah.
Not a crisis. That's an awakening.
Right, this is how I feel. This is how I feel. And I just thought, well, actually, why? There was a lot of pain that came with it, to be honest. There was a little bit of a crisis too, because you're not where you think you are, or don't know things, and you realize, oh my God, I really need to work on this side of me because I do have an ego, and I didn't think that I did have an ego. And then there is crisis in terms of the pain, but it is an awakening, and I do feel like I'm my authentic self. I do have to question it sometimes when I feel fear, when I think, well, if I say this, it's an everyday battle and it's an everyday and every moment conversation that I have, but I would like to think so.
Nice. So you told us a little bit about what made you start Lollipop. Was we're calling it an awakening, your midlife awakening, did that drive Lollipop to be your calling, would you say?
Yeah, very, very much so. But then again, I'll be honest with you, part of the awakening was that I didn't know what I fully wanted to do. And I didn't know whether it would pay. And it's not really paying at the moment, let's be honest. But it's given me so much because it was like, okay, I do feel like everyone's calling is to help somebody else. And the reason why I think that way is when you help somebody else, the feeling that you get, the satisfaction that you feel, you do feel aligned with that. And I think it pushed me to go, right, okay, how can I help other people? And then I thought, if I start there, then everything else will fall into place. And that is absolutely what has happened. Also, a year ago, the thought of you asking me to be on a podcast would fill me with so much dread. But the growth that you feel when you step into alignment, what you're supposed to do is changes you.
Now we
It's
love
so
it.
important, isn't it, to jump out that comfort zone into the fear zone, and only then can you learn and grow.
Yeah,
We're big believers in that.
very true.
Yes. But also, I wasn't ever really particularly client facing. So facing that barrier and going, well, you can't do something like this, Maria, because you don't have the connections. You're not the kind of person who somebody wants to listen to. And then just going, well, sod it then. If I help two people, and then now, a year and a half on, we've got 300 people registered.
Amazing. Leaving the world a better place than you found it before, Maria. You couldn't ask for much more than that.
Hopefully. There's something in being slightly older and realizing that actually my use in life hasn't ended because I'm in my 40s. I actually feel like I have a whole new lease of life and I feel that I've looked the best and I feel the best that I ever have. And I think there's just an encouragement to women out there that, it gets better.
I've got to back that. I'm 48 and I've had my best year, and this is definitely my 40s been my best decade. So for anybody who hasn't hit their 40s, leap forward. It's an amazing decade.
Honestly.
Can't wait. I know you've got a long list of mentors and mentees, but
Yes.
how have people reacted and received Lollipop so far?
The general reaction, I have to say, has been amazing, especially from our mentees. They were like, I've never seen somebody who looks like me running an initiative that is for me. What tends to happen is that Black people who run, initiatives don't get the funding, they don't have the network, they're not able to scale all of the time. They were like, wow, you're doing this and you're doing it on your own. And it's just, I'm proud of that. I think it's something that organizations and people need to look at, that yes, being an ally is also making sure that initiatives that are created by Black owners are supported. And I haven't always felt that way, if I'm being totally honest. But I also get voice notes from our mentees, in tears going, thank you. I didn't think that anyone cared.
Oh, that's so
It's so, I mean,
wonderful.
and that
Oh,
just shows the power of it. And I also have to say
amazing.
a massive shout out to you for the supporter that you've managed to get for Lollipop, which is Heather Small of M People. I mean, how did
Oh,
that come about? She's iconic.
Yes, she's amazing. So, Greenhouse Sports, has anyone heard of Greenhouse Sports? They are a charity. They use sport to re engage young people from disadvantaged schools and neighborhoods, etc. I put them in contact with Brixton Finishing School, and so they were operating out of Greenhouse Sports building. Brixton Finishing School had their graduation, and Heather Smalls was there, and I was
Wow.
fangirling out.
Starstruck.
Honestly, and I kind of started to circle her like a little bit of a stalker.
A natural meeting then.
And she's so beautiful and so tiny. She's about that big.
Wow, is
Oh
she?
my gosh.
And just lovely, beautiful woman. And I just said, look, I'm running Lollipop Mentoring. It's for Black women. You know, if you're around in a couple of weeks, would you like to come? And she's like, yeah, I'd love that. You know, being a Black woman is something that obviously she understands. And she said not only did she turn up, but she became almost like our own ambassador. And she talked about her experience of being, you know, she's like, I'm very successful. I'm okay financially. But if I go out, I have to be aware of how I talk. I have to be aware of not being perceived a certain way. And if I want a taxi, I'm not always going to get one because I'm a Black woman first and foremost. And that's just a reality of life. And I think hearing it from her, it just made other people kind of really wake up to it, that this doesn't go anywhere. Being a woman doesn't go anywhere, and being a Black woman, you know, we're at the intersection of both in terms of how we're perceived, in terms of how much we get paid, in terms of the beauty standard. I think there's a bit of a mental health issue that is happening amongst Black women that nobody's really talking about. Heather Smalls innately understood that, and she's just been a massive advocate. And I big up Heather, I love you.
Amazing.
What we won't do is we won't destroy the song by singing it. We were practicing it, but we're not going to do that. Instead, we'll just use the
We
phrase
rehearsed it.
in that one of the iconic lines is obviously about that what makes you feel proud.
Yes.
Something that I think, Maria, you should feel really proud about is the internship scheme with M&C Saatchi Sport and Entertainment, isn't it? And tell us a little bit about that.
So a lot of companies want to have diverse talent, especially kind of junior talent, but where do they go? I worked with them and I helped forge a partnership with Greenhouse Sports, and we kind of worked out in terms of what the assessment would be, what they would learn, and we just worked in partnerships finding young people who would be good for the scheme, and it was amazing. We learned a lot in terms of what some of these young people need and whether they will be kind of open with some of the challenges they're facing. But if you saw Grace and her graduation presentation that she had to do in terms of what she learned, you know, it just chokes me up. And
Oh,
the whole thing that, you know,
makes it all worth it.
she was
Yeah.
amazing, amazing. There's no way that at her age, I would have been able to present the way that she did in front of a room of such senior people.
Yeah.
I just think the kids are all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Amazing. And on that note, we talked about learnings from some of those internship schemes. How are the next generation going to thrive under Lollipop Mentoring? Any other internship schemes on the horizon or anything like that?
We want to do it all, but we need to scale. In terms of how they're going to thrive, they are thriving by saying no to things.
Oh,
The
interesting.
next generation now, they're all looking at organizations. And although there are all these roles looking for, you know, diverse young Black women, they're going, well, actually, let me see who on the senior leadership is Black. No one. I can't see myself here. So it clearly shows me that you're not nurturing talent. So, no, I'm not going to accept that role. I'd rather do something else which is going to feed me and help me pursue what it is I actually want to do. And I think that's a challenge that lots of organizations are going to have
Yeah.
really. And I think it's a wider conversation
Yeah.
because a lot of companies do bare minimum, and they're protecting their mental health. And a lot of Black women now, even at mid-level and senior level, are going, no thanks.
They know their worth.
Being empowered by other women and other senior people, they're getting that insight and they're getting that confidence even more to say, well, actually, I've got choices and I've got options. So I don't have to stay in this role and I don't have to put up with this. And I'm better than that.
Thanks to people like you as well,
I think
Maria.
this is really interesting, isn't it? Lollipop mentoring actually allows them that confidence to say no. I'd love to know one thing that you would say that they'll walk away from their time with Lollipop saying yes to, or what they're going to get, their standout thing. You say you will walk away from Lollipop mentoring with this. What is it?
With connections and a network. Having that kind of community is so
So
important
important.
because we talked about it earlier with DLL. If somebody knows you, they know you're passionate, they know you're good,
Mhm.
they're going to recommend you. Not only are you going to benefit from that, but they benefit from the kudos of going, oh, I recommended you. And that only gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And what we say is if you're a mentee, we want you to come back and mentor. And
Definitely.
we've seen that already in the last kind of couple of cohorts, that people are coming back, and they're coming back to our to our events, because they're good. We had a bit of hula hooping, we have
Oh, fun.
drinks, we give the mentees opportunities to do public speaking, to sit on panels.
Let me guess, was it Joy Dean doing the hula hooping?
Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
She's so
The
good, so
best.
good. Roller skating and hula hooping, what can that woman not do?
Oh my God. I did want to do roller skating, but I think risk assessment people would have had a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, it's fun, and I'm not stuffy. I like relaxed environments. We talked about being your authentic self. That is me, and so that's what Lollipop is. So if you come by yourself, or you're on your own and you're not sure, you will be fine. You'll be absolutely. In fact, we welcome it.
And Maria will wrap her lovely hands around you and take good care of you, and I know that. I love that
Yes.
about you. It's wonderful.
If you could share a bit of advice for raising future women and how women can reach their desired potential and protect their mental health, like you mentioned, we know mentoring is a big part of that. Is there anything more that can be done?
Sponsorship, sponsorship, which is to put your money where your mouth is. If you're saying that you're an ally and you're a company and you care about people, make it your responsibility to help that person's career. Not just give them a little bit of advice, but talk about them in rooms that they aren't privy to. Recommend them.
Yeah.
Recommend them for pay rises, recommend them for promotions. And if they're not good enough to be promoted, help them get there. Be responsible for people and listen to them and not be defensive. Well, you're saying this, but don't have a chip on your shoulder. It's like, well, why would they come to you?
Yeah.
What they then do is they just bide their time and go, right, I've got 2 years in this company, and then they then leave.
Move on. Yeah.
It will pay you to be transparent. If you're not where you need to be as an organization, then be honest about it, and then talk about the ambition and work towards it, and say what you're doing to work towards it. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it, or just say you're doing it, because people can read that. People can see through rubbish.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there, you talked about ambition for other companies. We're really curious to know what ambition you have for Lollipop in the next few years, and really what's the most important aspect of change that you personally believe needs to happen.
We need to stop with this performative stuff. Talking to a lot of Black women who are being asked to do a lot of labour for Black History Month for free for big organisations, that needs to change. And in terms of my ambition for Lollipop, I want to go global.
Woo.
I get so many requests from women in the US, in Europe, in Africa going, do we have a Lollipop here? Can you help me? It's great in one way, but it's actually really sad that they don't have anything, and they don't feel like they can reach out to anybody. So I'd say being global. I would say also having a bit of a initiative where we say, as Black people or Black women, that we're going to say no to certain things and no to organizations, and maybe have a charter and say, unless you can prove that you're not being performative, we're not going to do this stuff, and make sure that Black women are paid for their labor. I think that's one thing that Lollipop really wants to do, and become a movement around this, because you're doing this on top of your day job, great, and then you're asked to be to speak and do things for large organizations for free, and they wouldn't do that to other communities, and it's not right.
No way.
So this is, I'm curious then as to what obstacles do you see, and whether those are financial, whether those are global? You mentioned the geographical element there. I know you, Maria. I know you're going to overcome anything that's thrown your way.
So the obstacles are that I set up Lollipop a year and a half ago, and I'm funding this whilst working on a 3-day-a-week contract. And I think other organisations which are led by others who aren't Black are getting those fundings and have that network and have that access, but I don't. Now, that could be for a whole host of reasons in terms of my career background, or because maybe organisations like dealing with other organisations that look like them. We could argue about this all day, but one of the main stumbling blocks is financial support and financial sponsorship. I'm saying this, and I'm also feeling this is a bit of vulnerability, like, oh my gosh, I can't say this because somebody might take offence and somebody might think this, which is all those things. But this is a commonly, widely held view of many Black people and many people who run initiatives who are Black. They just feel like, well, I'm not going to get it. I just need to get a white person to front it, and that's really sad.
This podcast was meant to be about that. It was meant to be about being honest and very
Yes.
raw. And actually, this is raw. This is saying there is a need for financial investment. If brilliant organizations like Lollipop Mentoring are going to succeed, there is a need for companies to lean in and put their money in. So, big shout out to our audience who are listening to help where they can.
Thank you. And I just want to add that there is a huge problem out there. I have mentees telling me in 2023 horrendous stories from large organizations. So they're hired on a wave of, yeah, George Floyd, we need more black representation. Let's get you in our literature. Yeah, black people. They're not then being promoted. They're then being gaslit. There's no support for them. And then they end up being bullied out of those organizations. What also happens is, fine, maybe they can get another job, but their confidence
Much
is on
harder.
the floor because they feel like, well, what's wrong with me? And when you're young as well, those things have massive impact on your mental health and how you see yourself. And a lot of people are leaving the industry because they just don't want to deal with it. That shouldn't just be the only option open to you. You should be able to go, no, I know I can make a career in this. One particular story that I won't go into the details, it's emotionally really damaged me because it triggered some of the experiences that I had. And I think, wow, we're in 2023. This is still happening.
Still going on.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely disgusting and it needs to stop. And I had to have a conversation with a couple of my mentees and say, do you mind if I go and speak to your HR department about this? We're not staying quiet anymore and we're not tap dancing, as Heather Small says. We're not tap dancing. So fix up because people are watching. And also, other black women speak to other black women and go, don't even bother with that organization. You're going to find that unless you fix this, the problem is going to continue. And I won't be quiet about it.
Absolutely. And so you
Good
shouldn't.
on you, Maria. For anyone that is feeling, is hearing that and it resonates with them, what outlets and resources would you recommend for anyone in our audience that maybe has more questions or wants to help themselves, maybe doesn't know how to approach their HR department about something like that?
I would say go and find somebody who you trust, who you can speak to. That's not always necessarily HR. Sometimes they have the business's best interests at heart. So you just need to be wary about that. I think we know as women, as an example, there are men that can be quite senior and quite badly behaved. Instead of tackling the behavior of that man, if you're a junior woman, you're expendable. So if you resign and it stays under the carpet, that's okay. That is the same with the black women. Black women don't tend to complain about it, or they're not listened, or they're seen as being aggressive, so they don't talk about it. And secondly, go and contact somebody like NABS,
Yeah.
mental health charity, and sometimes maybe go and speak to your doctor as well. What you're feeling is valid, and it's okay to take a break. But generally, people care, and people want you to succeed. If you need to contact me, and if I can, I'll speak to you and I'll talk to you as well. And that's if you're a black or white or whatever. We're all people.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Maria.
Thank
And
you.
we've got one final question before we move on, and you're going to like the quick fire round, but I have to ask this question because I think I really want there to be action. I always love not just talking shop, but real action. So if somebody wanted to go about becoming a mentor or a mentee with Lollipop today, what's their first step?
So if you want to be a mentee, Lollipop is aimed at mid-level black women. So you've been in your job for a couple of years and you feel like, oh, I'm not going anywhere, or I could do with some extra support. You just need to go to lollipopmentoring.com and sign up, and then you get added to our database. And then when it comes to the next cohort, I then match you with a senior mentor.
Exciting.
And if you want to be a mentor, you can be black, white, polka dot, whatever. As long as you've got like 5 years of experience and you want to give back, then please sign up. And again, we will then match you with a mentee. Now, it might be that particular cohort of mentees only want women. So you might be a man. And so therefore, when I match you, because I do all the matching, you don't get a match. But hold on, we try and make sure that a mentor gets to have a mentee at some point. And what's really interesting, Julia, is that we asked the mentees, do they want their mentors to be black or white? And it's actually polling 50-50.
Really?
Wow.
Okay.
So it's kind of showing me that they just need help and they need that network.
I'm glad you've said that because I think that would be often people might think, oh no, I'm not a black woman, so I'm not going to step in and step up and put myself forward as a mentor. So I think that's great to know, and hopefully it gives people confidence.
One of my mentees said to me, do you know what, Maria? It's really good you have so many senior white men as part of Lollipop, because I would never ever have had that exposure to speak to a white man before, and I've always felt really intimidated by them. And I'm really glad because they're really nice and they're really normal, and I feel so much more confident. And so it's just about making sure that it's a melting pot where people get to understand other people's stories. And that's one of the things that I'm really, really passionate about Lollipop as well.
I love that. Thank you, Maria.
Amazing.
It's time, though, Maria, for me to put you on the spot.
Bum,
Now, I'm
bum,
known for doing my quick
bum.
fire round. It's loved by many, apart from those in the hot seat, which is you. You have to answer the first thing that comes into your mind.
Brace yourself.
Are you ready? Are you set?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Number one, who would your ideal mentor be?
Somebody, I know I'm going to be really cliche, but I love Bowman St. John. I met her in Cannes and I fangirled out. It was a problem.
Okay, what should a mentor do right and what should they not do?
They should listen and make sure that they are being authentic and help to coach the mentee as well. Because mentoring is about coaching and mentoring, i.e. getting them to come and solve their problems as well. And what they shouldn't do is be performative and go, oh, look, I'm mentoring this black girl, check me out.
Oh, yeah,
That's
no.
not what it's about. Do it because you want to and you genuinely care.
Do it with authenticity again. Great. 3 tips to being a great mentor. You touched on 2 of them possibly, so I'll let you repeat those. 3 tips to being a great mentor.
Listen, be authentic, be open.
Perfect.
Very, very open.
If you could mentor any celebrity or historical figure, dead or alive, who would it be?
Do you know what? I thought about this and I thought it's quite presumptuous for me to do this because I don't know if I know more than a celebrity or dead or alive. But what I did think about, this is a bit of a cop out, is if there was one person I would have loved to have mentored, it would have been my mum.
Oh.
My mum left school when she was younger. She had to kind of forego her dreams to kind of help her younger siblings. And I think she wasn't necessarily a very confident woman. And she had like lots of children in short succession. And I just think she probably would have benefited from a little bit of love and a little bit of support.
Oh, bless you. And
That's
I'm sure
amazing.
she's incredibly proud of you.
Yeah.
Next question, though. I have to move on. It's a fast-paced round. What would you most want to trash when it comes to bad mentoring?
People just talking about themselves and doing long diatribes, talking about how great they are. Ugh.
God, yeah, I agree with
Monologuing.
you. What new mentoring idea would you like to try?
Reverse mentoring.
Oh,
I've always said no to it. But actually, I think the premise of Lollipop is kind of that.
Love that.
perfect. And final one. What have you tested with mentoring that worked brilliantly, that potentially was a surprise?
Hula hooping.
Yes.
Connecting people by hula hooping is perfect because you are wanting to get the mentors and mentees to go, this is fun. This person is real and they're actually a bit of a laugh. Job done, good match. Then you bond.
Yeah.
Maria McDowell, you have been an absolute joy and pleasure to have with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget, for anyone listening in the audience, you can find all the information that you need about this episode in the description below. Thank you so much, Maria. It's been a pleasure to have you on with us.
Thank you. My gosh, it's been brilliant. So good. And I look forward to being invited on again.
You will
Yes,
absolutely be a wonderful guest.
absolutely.
Thank
Maybe
you.
I'll bring one of my mentees with me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, absolutely.
That would
Thank
be
you, Maria
amazing.
McDowell. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Off Record On Point, the Digital Voice Podcast Unzipped. I'm Julia Linehan.
And I'm Kasey Long. Enjoy the conversation? Reach out and let us know by rating and reviewing on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to follow to never miss an episode.
You can stay connected with us at thedigitalvoice.co.uk and across all social platforms. Just look out for The Digital Voice.
Join us again next time for another undercover industry deep dive. All off record, all on point.